Welcome in. I'm WTOL 11 Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers. I'm so glad to have you along for our WTOL 11 Winter Weather Special. Over the next 30 minutes, it is our goal to prepare you for the winter season. Our team of 5 meteorologists work around the clock to keep you safe and informed and, of course, prepared, especially when the winter season arrives. That is a responsibility we don't take lightly. So let's get started. In just a few moments, you're going to hear from all 5 meteorologists, starting with meteorologist Ryan Weekman. He is eyeing some data that is quite eye-opening, answering the question, is our snow season shrinking? Meteorologist John Birchfield, he will show you ways that you could stay active and have fun this winter season. Next, we all feel it sometimes, the winter blues. Meteorologist Matt Willoughby, he's going to take a look at seasonal affective disorder and what we can do to battle it. And don't forget, our pets matter too. Meteorologist Kaylee Bowers gives tips from experts on what we need to know to keep our pets safe this winter season. Finally, I'm going to break down our winter weather outlook for the season ahead. A strong El Nino is in the driver's seat. What exactly does that mean, and how might that and other factors influence our winter season? I will break that down later in the program. But first, we start with Ryan. He's talking about our warming winter climate. It is having a real impact on our winters in Northwest Ohio and southern Michigan.
Do you remember using your snow shovel last year or your snow blower? Well, if you're having a hard time remembering, there's a good reason for that. It was one of the most disappointing winters for snow lovers in Northwest Ohio history. We only had 8 days last year during the winter months that had measurable snowfall. In total, less than a foot of snow fell in the 90 days of winter. Now, with all of the talk of climate change, does that mean that this is going to be the new normal, or was it a one-year hiccup? We love getting questions like this here in the WTOL 11 Weather Center. Let's go back to where we investigate these sorts of questions here in the WTOL 11 Weather Center, and we have some pretty interesting information. Now, keep in mind, we have over 150 years of weather records that go back to the 1870s. So when we can analyze data here in Toledo, it's unlike a lot of places across the country. And one thing we found, yes, our snow and cold season is shrinking. Look at this comparison. 40 years ago, we averaged 40 days every year with measurable snowfall. That number has dropped by almost 2 weeks now. We only average 28 days with measurable snowfall. Something interesting about that, though, is despite the lessening of snow days, our snow totals are actually about the same. We averaged 34 inches of snow on a winter season, so we're getting less snowfall days, but heavier times when it does snow. And do you dream of a white Christmas most years? Our hopes need to get bigger because December snow is becoming less frequent. 6 of the last 9 Decembers, we've had less than 2 inches of snowfall. Now let's bring you back to where things are a little more familiar, here in front of the green screen where we deliver you the forecast each and every day in the WTOL 11 Weather Center. It's not just the snow that we're seeing chart to change over the years, it's the cold as well. Let's take a simple analysis. Our freezing season. In 1980, we would expect our freezing season to last about 200 days, from first freeze to last freeze. Today, that has decreased by almost 3 weeks. So yes, there is a major difference. And not only that, there's 11 less days where we reach below freezing temperatures every winter. That means what snow is falling and melting more quickly. Now, are you a weather lover or even just a casual weather observer and you realize, now hold on a minute here, the 60s, 70s, and 80s were some of the coldest winters we've ever experienced in the Toledo area. How can we compare that to what we're seeing today? And the answer is, well, because we've had harsh winters in the last few years too. Remember 2014, 2015, our snowiest and coldest ever recorded for periods at a time. So yes, there are some similarities. When we analyze this, so we use 30-year averages. So you can compare one generation versus another. And one conclusive thing that we can say, our winter season is becoming less harsh, less snowfall, and a general increase in temperatures. If you want to get delivered more information like this every single week, sign up for our Climate Friday newsletters over at WTOL.com. Reporting in studio from the WTOL 11 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ryan Weekman.
Ryan, fascinating data. We appreciate you breaking that down for us and what we can expect over a longer period of time in our winter season. Now, cold weather, less daylight, and seasonal changes. Did you notice it? It can actually affect your overall mood. It is called seasonal affective disorder, or more commonly referred to, SAD, and it affects millions of people across the country with the first signs in fall or winter. Meteorologist Matt Willoughby breaks down the causes and how you can turn this season into a good one.
Seasonal affective disorder can be one of the most challenging things to go through during the colder months of the year. Colder temperatures and less daylight lead to less time outside, which some people thrive on. But what exactly is seasonal disorder?
Seasonal affective disorder is a type of major depressive disorder, which typically occurs in the fall and winter months when there's less sunlight. It typically impacts women more so than men.
But what are some of the symptoms of seasonal depression?
Well, a lot of the symptoms are going to be the same as a major depressive disorder. So we see sadness, we see fatigue, lack of energy. Some of the things that are kind of unique to this type of depression is that we see hypersomnia, so sleeping a lot.
For some that may be concerned for their loved ones, here are a few ways to point out the initial stages.
Oftentimes what you're going to see is somebody who's having a difficult time getting out of bed. They typically are having impairment in their abilities to interact in social situations. They might become more withdrawn. You might see them miss days at work or maybe avoid going to school. So it's really starting to see an impairment in their ability to function day to day.
So you're probably wondering, what typically causes seasonal depression?
The theory behind it is that there's a lack of vitamin D. And of course, the sun is integral in our processing of vitamin D. And so when we see that vitamin D decrease, we see an impact in the neurotransmitters in the brain, and then we start to see depressive symptoms.
So how is seasonal affective disorder treated?
And of course, here in Northwest Ohio, we can go days, sometimes weeks without seeing the sun. So that's why we see this. And very interestingly enough, you'll see that people who live further away from the equator, we see the higher prevalence of SAD than what we might see, like say in the Keys of Florida. Getting up and going to bed at the exact same time, making sure that you're exercising maybe 20 to 30 minutes a day, like literally just walking can do a world of good for you. Making sure that you are continuing to interact with your friends and family.
Sunny days during the winter come at a cost, but Empire suggests when we do get a sunny day to open up the curtains and stay active by taking a short walk and absorbing some of the sun's rays to keep yourself active and going. Reporting in Perrysburg, I'm meteorologist Matt Willoughby for WTOL 11.
It can be hard to find time to work out when the weather is nice, but winter itself, well, it brings new challenges in keeping up with your health. Meteorologist John Birchfield has some ideas on how to stay fit even when winter is nipping at your nose.
Winter is almost here, and the warm days and light evenings of summer are a distant memory. While staying indoors during the cold and snowy days of winter can be tempting, getting outside is important for both your mental and physical health. So how can you and your family stay active and busy during the winter season? Amanda Demalski of Metro Parks Toledo explains.
Trail Challenge is a great way to motivate people to keep getting outside, keep logging miles, even during the winter time, for both their mental and their physical health. When you register, you get this lovely reusable stainless steel water bottle, and then every time you complete all of the trails in a metro park, you get a sticker for that park.
Beating the winter blues and reducing the risk of seasonal depression can start with a simple walk or hike.
We know that a lot of people do have a hard time getting out to hike in the wintertime with our early sunset times, so we do have an evening hiking group starting in January at Swan Creek Metro Park every Tuesday. We hike from 6 to 7 p.m. and it is free. Registration is encouraged, but it is not required. So for anyone who's having a hard time getting their hike in, if they work till 5 p.m., come on out and see us.
Getting outside can be challenging with the early sunsets, but Metro Parks Toledo provides fun evening activities for the whole family.
We have wonderful sledding hills at 4 of our metro parks. 3 of them are open late after hours until 8 p.m. So you can go sledding at Sidekip Metro Park, Pearson Metro Park, and here at Glass City Metro Park. And then there's also a great hill at Blue Creek that does close at dark as well.
Sledding isn't the only family-friendly activity you can enjoy this winter. Ice skating in East Toledo is one of the newest Metro Park offerings. Scott Carpenter explains.
We're excited that this year is the first season for the ribbon at Glass City Metro Park. We had a preview last year over 3 weeks and had 15,000 people turn out. So we're expecting big things this year. It's friendly for really all levels of skating. For the little ones or even the bigger ones, we have these penguins that have become really popular that you can skate around with to kind of hold yourself up. So those are available. We also have some sled style skates for people with disabilities so that everybody can participate.
Skating is available for all at Glass City Metro Park in just about any weather conditions.
They can maintain the ice in warmer temperatures than you might think. Last year during our special preview, there were people ice skating in shorts, so it is possible. We'd rather be a little bit colder. It kind of keeps the electric bill down.
And when winter does get cold and snowy, you may prefer spending time indoors. Don't worry, there are still plenty of fun ways to enjoy the winter months while staying warm.
We do have lots of indoor overnight facilities for those that don't want to brave the cold, particularly at Oak Openings Metro Park. We have our Caretaker's Cottage, our Pine Ridge Chalet, which are beautiful overnight facilities, and then the Treehouse Village is also open all winter long. Those are heated, so they're a great place to come out and stay in a cool treehouse and have a unique experience in the wintertime.
And another fan favorite annual activity to celebrate the holidays is right around the corner. Holidays at the Manor House.
We always have holidays in the Manor House coming up in December. That's a free event open to the public where you can come out to the Manor House and see it decorated. Volunteers come out and they decorate each individual room with a different theme and a different style, and you can tour the house and enjoy all of those decorations. On weekends there's also s'mores available, so you can come out and have a fun family treat before you tour the house.
Regardless of how you like spending the winter months, Metro Parks Toledo offers an amazing array of fun activities to stay busy and beat the winter blues.
There are many things to remember when it comes to winter weather safety, but it's important to not forget about your pets. Meteorologist Kaylee Bowers explains what to do to keep them safe this time of year.
They're a member of the family, our furry friends. We do what we can to keep them safe, and that doesn't stop in the winter. We have our mittens and scarves to stay warm. While our pets have a natural coat, they still get cold. It's important to bring your pets inside, or make sure they have a dry and draft-free enclosure to help them stay warm. If animals are left out in the cold, they can have similar reactions as us humans. They can become disoriented, freeze, or worse.
If you've got a dog or an outdoor cat, please bring them in, even into your garage, someplace to get out of the wind and the elements and to keep them warm, to make sure that they're not getting that hypothermia or any frostbite.
It's also important to make sure they have water that is not frozen.
So pets can become dehydrated really quickly, just like people. When you're out playing in the snow, you don't realize that you're, losing water. So it's very important that they have access to fresh and open water.
One thing that we deal with every year is the salting in the roads to melt the snow. The salt and other chemicals in it can be harmful and irritable to your pet's paws. You can wipe their paws when they come inside. That way they don't lick their paws and have salt get in their mouths.
When you're outside in 10 to 32 degree temperatures, set a timer on your phone for 10 to 15 minutes. That's the maximum amount of time you and your pets should be outside.
Especially in the winter when it's really, really, really cold, your pet's paws, the dog's paws, are very sensitive. They actually sweat through their paws, so they can get cold even faster by having their feet on cold pavement.
Just as you would prepare yourself for dealing with the winter weather, make sure you're stocked up on extra pet food and medicine. In Toledo, I'm Kaylee Bowers for WTOL 11.
Well, the data is in, and over the past several weeks, we've been analyzing what it means for our winter season. And before the first real snowflakes of the season begin to fall, the question is, will we have another bleak winter with snowfall, or will the snow begin to pile up across northwest Ohio and southern Michigan? This is going to be your WTOL 11 winter weather outlook, and the data is clear on one thing in particular. The phenomenon known as El Nino is going to be firmly in the driver's seats and controlling much of our wintry weather. And for those that are looking for snowfall, those hopes may very well be melting away to another bleak winter of snow. So what does the data say about this? So El Nino is going to be the biggest impact of our winter weather season. What that is, it is warmer than average equatorial Pacific waters off the coast of South America. Bottom line is that alters the global circulation, typically resulting in a more active subtropical jet stream which goes across the southern tier of the United States. With that as well, the polar jet stream, which we typically look for colder air and for winter storms, is more frequently bottled up into Canada. We'll have much more on that in the coming moments as well, but we're going to start with that number one driver, which is El Nino. And again, that is the warmer than average equatorial Pacific waters off the coast of South America. We expect that this year may be a strong to potentially a historically strong El Nino pattern. With that more active subtropical jet stream, storm systems that would stack up off the Pacific coast would more likely be going across the southern tier of the country. That would allow mild Pacific air to come through the Pacific Northwest into the northern plains, and yes, right here into the Great Lakes region. A typical El Nino winter is warmer than average for our area. How about the polar jet stream though? That's what's responsible for more winter storms. With that bottled up north of us, we're more likely to experience drier than average conditions through the course of an El Nino winter. So let's tie this all together. We're very confident that we're going to be seeing an El Nino winter. It brings together drier than average conditions, mild wintry weather, which ultimately results in less than average snowfall across the area. So where do we stand with this? Because we've been analyzing the data over the past several months. We've got a 55% chance of a strong El Nino and an outside chance, about a 1 in 3 chance where it could be a historically strong El Nino season. Now, with anything, there's always a wild card with this. And one thing that when I dive into the data, I'm looking at that developing El Nino, and bottom line is, what if it doesn't turn into a strong El Nino and we're seeing some signs that weaker trade winds that should have developed at this point have yet to do so? That is something we will monitor through the course of the wintry season. So let's set the stage on what we typically see through the course of a winter. We average about 37 inches of snowfall. The heart of that typically falling in the months of December, January, and into February. If we were to experience a strong or historically strong El Nino, it is typically very bleak for snowfall, especially early in the winter for December and January, with a chance it could pick up late in the winter season. So I've analyzed the data. When we've had a strong El Nino, which has occurred 5 times in history, we've had only 79% of our normal snowfall. Now, even more rare in history, a very strong El Nino has only occurred 3 times in history, and that data is even more clear. Less than half the average snowfall is expected during a historically strong El Nino year. So one thing is clear, when we have an El Nino, we typically average less than average snowfall. Total snowfall, if it were to be a historically strong El Nino, would be significantly below average. And either way, with this winter season, we're expecting El Nino to have impacts with below average snowfall. Now, how about temperatures? We've recently had a very strong El Nino back in 2015 and 2016. It was one of the warmest winters in modern history, with one of the warmest starts to winter in December and no measurable snowfall, and a very rare occurrence in December. Back in 1997 and 1998, it was the warmest winter we've ever had. That was also during a very strong El Nino year, and we've had several other years that have all averaged quite a bit above average when we experience an El Nino year. Now, there are several other characteristics that will factor into a winter weather outlook, including the polar vortex. This, generally speaking, is the circulation over the North Pole. When the polar vortex is strong, we often see that colder air held tighter to the Arctic and the North Pole. When we enter into a weaker phase, which happens in any winter, even an El Nino winter, we would see more likely frequencies of outbreaks of cold Arctic air coming down into the mid-latitudes. El Nino or not, we will have disruptions in the polar vortex that occasionally will send colder Arctic air down into our area, which could result in at least a few good weeks of winter. We also monitor snow cover. Across Canada, it is now below average, which means we don't have a breeding ground for colder air at this point early in the season. We may have to look all the way across the globe into Siberia, where they're near average with snowpack, for some late season cold if the pattern lines up just right. So what else influences a winter weather season? We've talked about snow cover and the polar vortex. Any winter season could be defined by, of course, hitting on the big one. One storm could define a winter season, but my big influence is going to be our general warming climate and the impacts from an El Nino winter. So here's how we're going to break it down. Our winter temperatures are expected to be above average. It could be as much as 2 degrees or more above average. And that's a big deal over the course of a winter season. Our winter snowfall expected to be below average, in line with a typical El Nino winter, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 28 inches. Keep in mind, an average snowfall for the course of a year is about 37 inches. So we're looking at a warmer than average winter with below average snowfall. And that's what the data is going to show. Warmer conditions across our area and much of the Great Lakes region, and drier than normal conditions will be experienced as well through the majority of our winter season. Yes, we will occasionally get snow that falls across the area, but the winter weather lovers that are hoping for more snow and a wintry setting may have to wait yet again another year. And of course, stay tuned as we go through the winter season. Good reminder, you can always track the forecast right down to your neighborhood. Whether you're without power or in the midst of a storm, our WTOL 11 weather team is going to be right there with you in the palm of your hand. You can download our free WTOL 11 weather app. It is now available and has been in your App Store or Play Store. We'll post updated forecasts. We'll send you alerts based on your location, plus that 10-day forecast. We really thank you for joining us for our WTOL 11 winter weather special. We wish you a safe and happy winter season.